Hello YouTubians and welcome. Another day, another video. Today we're talking about how to survive the pre-launch Orgy of Anxiety leading up to August 25th and the Head Start launch of Guild Wars 2. As I record this, we are 1.5 weeks from the third and final beta weekend event, and just yesterday, confirmed by the developers themselves, the Azura and Sylvari will be playable in beta weekend event number 3. Many happy people floating about the internet yesterday upon confirmation of this news, and I'm happy for them. It's nice to see people enthusiastic. As far as I was concerned, I could have gone either way. With or without the Azura and the Sylvari as playable with the next beta weekend event wouldn't have made one bit of difference to me at all. Nevertheless, despite hearing this news and seeing all these happy people on the internet, I still had this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that I've been here before, that I'm familiar with this process, and something wasn't really sitting very well with me. So I thought about it for a while, and then I realized, yes, I have been through this process before. Come the end of beta weekend number 3, really, for the most part, all we're going to be able to do to tide ourselves over all the way up till launch is be patient. Some of us are okay with that. Some of us can manage. It's not necessarily always going to be comfortable for everyone, but I think most of us are able to contain the anxiety. Nevertheless, as always, the vocal minority will be absolutely certain to remind us of every possible shortcoming, every possible deficiency, everything that the game must have prior to launch, otherwise it will die or fail. They will make sure we know all about it. They will review it in nauseating detail on every forum that does not ban them. So me being the person that I am, coming to you today with 7 tips to survive without ruining the game for yourself before it even launches. Number 1, and these are in no particular order, but this one I would have to say, based on my past experience with other MMOs in this stage of the development cycle nearing launch, this one is probably the single most important. That is, if ArenaNet did not promise it, then ArenaNet did not promise it. When I say it, it sounds like, how could anyone be so stupid as to not understand that? You would be amazed, particularly when you've got a span of time from the point where a game is announced until the point where a game launches, where people have nothing to do with their time, apparently, but sit around and speculate on all the wonderful features they would like to see in the game, to the point where they lose track of who said what. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter what the developer has said will be in the game. There are just so many great ideas put forward by the community that, well, it just better be there. And if it's not there, then even if the developer didn't promise it, the developer lied. So let's do our part as a community to make sure that we don't propagate this nonsense. If you can't cite a reference to ArenaNet promising it, they never promised it. There's no room for interpretation. They said specifically it would be there, or they did not say specifically that it would be there. Following that, point number 2, if it wasn't in for beta weekend number 3, even if ArenaNet did promise it, don't count on it for launch. If it does make it in for launch, hooray. If not, we can voice our feedback appropriately. The thing is, sometimes not everything can make it in for launch. Sometimes the decision is made that, yes, we could delay launching to add this feature, but it's not really crucial. So we're going to go ahead and focus our attention on bug fixes, polishes, quality of life improvements, and we're going to leave this, and as soon as we get the game out the door, servers live, people happy playing the game, then we'll worry about it. Sometimes that's just the way it has to be, even if they did promise it. So if that hairstyle that you just can't live without happens to be excluded this time around, I'm sorry. Certainly, I hate to see anyone disappointed, but might not be worth jumping out a window over just yet. Number 3, keep any speculation in check with reality. If it wasn't promised and it's not already in the game, it's not going to be. See, we've covered all 3 layers here. Things that were promised, things that were promised and just couldn't quite fit before launch, and now things that were not promised and are not there. If it's not there, it's not going to be. ArenaNet is developing the game, not the players, so it doesn't matter that Bob came up with this fantastic idea 2 years ago that 300 other people think would be just swell. If it wasn't promised and it's not in the game by the end of beta 3, nobody should be pissed if it's not there when the game launches. at all, ever. I don't care. Number 4, as far as communication with ArenaNet goes, if that communication does not take place on an official communication venue, don't assume anyone at ArenaNet will see it. During Beta Weekend 3, the option to send feedback to Arena will be available in-game. You don't even have to go to a forum. There is a button that you can click on the system UI panel in the top left corner of the screen that will allow you to send feedback directly to the developers. In addition, if you have access to the Beta Weekend event, you will also have access to the Beta Forums, which is another venue where you can post feedback that has a very good chance of being seen by the developers. Reddit is not an official communication venue. It doesn't matter what posts you've seen from developers. It doesn't matter what events they've had on Reddit. Don't assume. What the community does not need is thrice daily posts from Joe Brainiac detailing in 5 pages or more exactly every single minor deficiency he's found with the game that doesn't suit his liking. And when everyone says, dude, we don't care, he gets defensive and says, well, I didn't do it for you. I did it so that when ArenaNet reads it, they'll know what I think. You're putting it in the wrong damn spot, and we don't care. In line with that, item number 5, don't feed the animals. It's like when you go camping and a bear walks up to you and you say, hey, Mr. Bear, have a Snickers bar. In your mind, you're just giving the bear a treat. Everything is all well and good. Until the next camper comes along and says, no, Mr. Bear, you can't have a Snickers bar, and winds up in the hospital with a bear mouth-shaped hole in their ass. Thanks to you. It's the same on the forums. Joe makes a post outlining how he absolutely has to have a pants bulge slider on all male character models in order for him to be happy with the game, and you think to yourself, yeah, I like to control me some testicles, so I'm going to make my own post in that thread and say, yeah, that would be kind of neat. There's one of 2 things that could possibly happen. 1, worst case scenario, 3 to 6 months from launch, every new male character walks around looking like they have a softball tucked in their codpiece. Or 2, the devs are smart enough to leave that out, but now every 6 to 12 weeks, the original poster comes back pointing to the original thread, the one that you posted in, saying, look how many people want huge balls. Yes, that's right. The original poster is going to blame you and cite you as a reason why the devs are ignoring their players because they have small balls. Don't feed the animals. Number 6, ask yourself, does my complaint really matter? Can I live and enjoy the game if this doesn't get corrected? Now, I'm not saying that you have to agree with me on what should or should not matter. I'm saying that sometimes people just get so used to throwing out minor critiques and criticisms, they don't realize the huge pile of shit they're contributing to, right? One guy has a minor complaint, he posts that. 10 other people post their minor complaints. Before you know it, the next person to show up to the forums, all they see is a wall of shit because nobody can moderate their criticism. Does it really matter? Come launch, what you say to the devs on the official forums, that's between you and the devs. I don't really care. Between the end of Beta Weekend 3 and launch, there's already going to be enough on the forums, I guarantee you. Just ask yourself, do I really need to add to it? Now, the 7th and final point is one that I could have possibly devoted an entire video to on its own, and I may still do that at some point in the future. But that's that developers don't build hype anymore. Right? There's this like growing trend. One of the feedbacks is this game doesn't live up to the hype. I'm so disappointed. Developers don't build hype anymore because they don't have to. The community does it for them. A developer is making a new game. They set up a YouTube channel. They release a trailer every 3 months and do an interview every 6 weeks. The community takes it from there and does all the hype for the developer. It's absolutely critical as individuals that we learn to think for ourselves and identify where the information is coming from and how much credibility it has. This applies to everything else that I've mentioned on this list. Mary decides that she wants to take a look at what's going to be in this game, and she goes to the forum, and it's covered in speculation from everyone saying this would be awesome and this is going to be there, and I'm betting this is going to be there, and all this other stuff. not knowing that not a single person that she's reading comments from has the first goddamn clue what they're talking about. And then she gets into the game and wonders why none of this is there. Well, because the community, who is blaming the developer for the hype, created a lot of really crappy hype that no developer could live up to because they weren't in control of it. Now, I'm sure the comment section is going to be full of comments arguing whether or not the developers can control what the community is doing by way of hype. I absolutely know there are people who will use that as a justification to say that the developers should have daily interviews and all the information we could possibly have just so the community doesn't have to speculate. I say bullshit. Leave your comments below. That's actually all I have to say about it. I didn't want this to go on too long. Yes, it is a bit of a funny haha. It's also a bit of serious. It's also a bit of the next 5 weeks after Beta Weekend 3 are going to be a shit show. And I think the question that you want to ask yourself is how deep you want to bury yourself in it and what the consequences will be to you when the game launches. For me, I plan on reading through the forums. It's good for me to keep a pulse on what people are talking about, but I also plan on being very, very careful about what I say and who I say it to, because I am just the kind of guy who could get myself banned. So I'm always interested in feedback on everything. How's the audio quality? How's the video quality? How's the content? Am I making you mad? Sometimes it's good to make you mad. It makes you think. Other times I'm making you mad for no good reason and people are sad, and that's not the point. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. If you do like what you see and you want to be alerted when I add a new video to my channel, definitely you want to click on the subscribe button. So between now and the next video, you guys take good care of yourselves.